Hi everyone, I'm Carlo Bova from Downtown Music here in Sydney, Australia, and welcome to the Downtown Lounge. Today I have a very, very special friend that I've had the privilege of working with for over 25 years, who's had an amazing musical career. And let me introduce him to you, and his name is Albert Calvo. Hi Al, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, mate.
Good boy.
You're sounding a bit oriental there, man. Al, just briefly give us a quick rundown of your musical career over the,
Ooh, it's been a long one. I guess the main thing was probably when I was 13, 14, 15, being support acts for all the great Australian show bands, the Easy Beats, Billy Thorpe, Ray Brown, Dinah Lee, the Trogs.
Billy Thorpe?
Billy Thorpe.
And the Easy Beats?
Easy Beats.
At what age?
14 maybe, 13, 14.
And what was the name of your band then?
That was a band called The Young Ones, believe it or not.
The Young Ones, okay, fair enough. And where'd you progress from there?
From there, I was given a record when I was about 17 or 16. I was given a record of Andre Segovia playing classical guitar by my older sister, and she said to me, "You want to play guitar? That's how it sounds."
Wow, so up to there were you like more a rock player?
Absolutely, yeah.
So all of a sudden you've changed and become like a finger classical?
That's when I went a slightly different direction into finger picking guitar. Classical guitar took a major interest in my life at that point, while I was still playing Jeff Beck and Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, you know, as a spare time hobby, you know.
Do you remember that special moment in your life where, obviously if you can't remember when you first started, this might be a bit difficult then, is what made you say, hey, I want to play guitar?
Love Ritchie Blackmore,
okay.
Love Jeff Beck, love Jimmy Page. They were possibly my three favourite of all times. After that I sort of found a fascination with Eric Clapton for a little while. And then classical guitar took a major priority in my life for quite a few years after that.
Wow, okay. Who's playing? I'm just trying to think. Steve Morse. I was in America about 6 years ago, and I went to a concert at the House of Blues, and there was Deep Purple playing. Yeah. And mate, the guitarist that night was actually Steve Morse, and what a great job!
I think.
What a great job he did.
Yeah,
that was a really good concert.
Yeah. So now there are many guitar players like that throughout the world, where a lot of people would only have a listen or only know about a certain aspect of their career on a stage with what they do in a band, and then all of a sudden when you see Steve Morse do this other side of him, you know, you say, wow, didn't realise he could do that.
Yeah, but I think Ritchie Blackmore really had some sort of showmanship about him that...
on stage, Ritchie Blackmore was enormous.
Whenever you mention, you know, Deep Purple, one of the very first names is obviously Ritchie Blackmore.
Absolutely, yeah.
You were in a band called The Young Ones, which I think is a great name, but moving on from The Young Ones, what were the names of the next bands that you were in, and what did you actually do in those bands?
There were many bands that I played in that I wasn't actually a member of.
Okay.
Like I just got called in to do tours for certain bands.
Give me a couple of names of few tours that you did.
Now, on the spot, I can't remember some of them.
Well, one I do know is did you play with Billy Thorpe?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
Was that Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs?
Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs, yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I only heard that as a rumour in the shop the other day.
I've also played...
How long were you in that for?
It was only one gig. It was only one gig. I also did a...
So that was a filling-in job? You weren't actually with the band?
That was a filling job. I also did one filling job with, this is in the very early days, with Keith Lamb and Hush.
Wow.
I filled in for Robin.
Mate, they actually used to rehearse. When I started working here at Downtown, when I was across the road, there used to be a big rehearsal room, and these guys used to come in, they were only in their early 20s, and rehearse next door and bring in a truckload of gear just for rehearsals, man. It was over the top.
I didn't want to join Hush as a full-time member. I thought the Stilettos wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, I actually haven't seen you in stilettos, so we'll leave that one for another 60 seconds. Anyway, so how old were you when you were filling in for all these bands?
17, 18.
Okay. Yeah. And, okay, so then that was basically your rock career, and then all of a sudden your sister said, "Hey, listen to Segovia."
That's right. Yeah.
And you started playing
from my early 20s. I spent the next 6-7 years studying classical guitar very seriously. I virtually gave up electric guitar, and spent years just concentrating on learning to read music properly, learning to sight read, concentrating on my career as a classical guitarist. And I had many workshops with John Williams, Toribio Santos, Oscar Caceres.
Wow, so you've had lessons with John Williams?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Summer schools, they call them, you know.
Oh, okay, like a summer camp or something where you go, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, well, I was teaching at the Sydney Guitar Institute, which is now, the Sydney Guitar Centre, which is now the Institute of Guitar in Sydney.
Okay.
And a part of the curriculum of that school was to bring recognised artists every summer for a 6-week period or for a 4-week period to Sydney, so that the young kids coming through had some experience and had some exposure to these great artists, talking about their music and talking about how they got to where they were, how they got to where they are, you know.
I remember doing something like that with the guitarist from the Little River Band, Steve Housden.
Oh, Steve Housden.
Yeah, what a great player he is as well.
What a great player, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Al, we're talking rock band, or Billy Thorpe and all the Aztecs and all those sort of bands right up to about 18, 19 or so, or 17.
That's good.
Well, one of the three. And then from there, Segovia was introduced into your life, so there you're off practicing your classical training.
Yep.
I heard a rumour that Joe Pass was somewhere in your life as a teacher.
Yeah, as both. Joe was a good influence in me. We did again, when I was teaching for the Sydney Guitar Institute, we did what they called a music symposium back in 1981 or 82, I can't remember the exact years now.
Yep.
And we had 4 weeks of Janos Starker, Joe Pass, some other names there, John Williams again, sorry. And I had the greatest pleasure of spending every day for that period with Joe Pass. Sitting with him, talking with him, having a few little jam sessions with him, and that guy just turned my life around when I realised just what a remarkable player and what a remarkable head for chord progressions, chords, music that guy had. And he became my favourite hero at that point.
Wow. And George
and that then instigated my career into jazz, which I then
from rock to classical. Now we're jazzing along.
Now we're into jazz, and then George Goller was also a part of that symposium as well, and I then immediately took lessons with George Goller for quite a few years, and again. At that point there, I was doing the jazz course at the Sydney Conservatorium, playing with Roger Frampton and all the great teachers at the con, and doing various gigs around town in the...
Were you teaching there as well?
No, I'd stopped teaching at that point. My only interest at that point was just learning more about jazz, learning how to play it, learning what to do with it.
Then somewhere along that career, so to me that sounds like you're just about to meet me somewhere in your life now.
And after the jazz course...
Because being here 25 years or so we're getting pretty close.
We're getting close, we're getting close. At that point there, I joined a band called Connection.
Okay.
And we travelled up and down the east coast of Australia pretty well, solidly for 18 months, you know, doing all the resorts.
Okay. I did that back in the 80s and 90s too.
That was good fun, I enjoyed that. That was like another experience, just travelling around all the holiday resorts, doing songs and pop songs and jazz songs. And
Al, so tell us about the last 20 years, what you've been doing. I know a little bit because you've been here with us at Downtown.
Again, a major...
Musical career, what's that? Sorry.
Revelations everywhere. When I got back to Sydney, I took up a teaching job at Downtown Music, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
But during this period, I've also then expanded my career again by doing lots of jazz gigs, lots of rock gigs, quite a few solo guitar gigs. So I can sort of cover the gauntlet, so to speak. I have no problem with doing a solo guitar gig. I have no problem with doing a jazz gig. I have no problem with doing a rock and roll gig.
And you obviously have no problems putting an album together, because the last time I counted, I think you're up to 14, 15, 16 albums or whatever.
Okay, I have...
What are we up to now?
Yeah, I have 2 albums under my own name, which the second album is doing still very good on digital downloads.
Okay, and what's that called?
That album's called Second Thoughts.
Second Thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sort of a Latin-y, fusion-y type of an album. You know.
Was that, there's a Pass It On album?
The first album was called Pass It On, which I passed on.
That Pass It On album, I've got a copy of that. That's a fantastic album. Where can we get one of those?
All my albums under my own name are all available as digital downloads through iTunes, through Destra Music, through CD Baby. Just type in the name Albert Calvo into Google, you'll find them. It's very easy to find.
Okay. Hey guys, do that, because this guy here is an amazing guitar player, and I'm sure there's a bit to learn for all of us here. Here in Downtown, we actually call him the Sensei.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so, and we've all taken, no matter how long we've all been playing, we've all had at least a couple of lessons here with Albert Calvo.
Yeah.
Once again, guys, Al, all I can say is, hold on, before we do go, I did say there was about 16 or 17 albums, and I just want to let everybody know that Albert actually does a lot of music for film scores, commercials, documentaries, you name it. If there's something you've heard on the radio or on TV, probably Al's had something to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much, mate, for coming along today.
Thanks, Carlo. Thanks a
You
lot.
really didn't have any choice, because you're going to start teaching in half an hour.
That's about
Once
it.
again, thank you very much, Al.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching, and you're watching the Downtown Lounge.